So now we'll be learning naive based classifier. ठीक है naive based classifier दिखता है. The classification method obviously. This is easy for humans to identify. Egg, green apple, potato, sweet potato, onion. ठीक है. But how does the model classify? ठीक है. Introduction to classification. Example 1. Teacher classifies students A, B, C, D, and F based on their marks. That's discrimination, but okay. The following is one simple classification rule. Basically, classification is discrimination. You are discriminating each class so that you can differentiate them. Okay. So the marks above 90 become A. 90 and 80 के बीच में becomes B. 80 70 के बीच में becomes C. 70 and 60 becomes D, and anything less than 60 becomes F. Note here we apply the rule to a specific data. In this case, a table of marks. So this is hard coded. Okay. You specified the condition also. You specified the range also. You specified the number of clusters also, A, B, C, D, F. So, and you specified the data set also. Okay. And this algorithm will work cleanly on every other data set that is similar, same as the previous one. Okay. So, same type formatting and marks. But what about data that has not been observed? Example of classification in data analytics. Life science. Predicting tumor cells as benign or malignant. Oh, wait, benign. Wait, what?
Benign.
Benign, yeah, right, sorry. Predicting tumor cells as benign or malignant. ठीक है, मतलब छोटा या बड़ा. ठीक है, predicting tumor cells as बड़ा, छोटा या बड़ा. Security. Classifying credit card transaction as legitimate or fraudulent. Prediction. Whether voting political dynamic. Fuck, what's happening? Prediction. Weather prediction, voting predictions, political dynamics ka predictions, etc. Entertainment. Categorizing news stories as finance, weather, entertainment, sports, etc. ठीक है, तो to classify news. Social media. Identifying the current trend and future growth. ठीक है, examples of classification in data analytics था ये. Let's move forward. Classification. Examples were definition. Classification is a form of data analysis to extract models describing important data classes. Classification is a form of data analysis to extract models describing important data classes. Essentially, it involves dividing up objects so that each is assigned to one of the. इनको अच्छे से लिखने में प्रॉब्लम है क्या लाइफ में कुछ? Essentially, it involves dividing up objects. English fucked है इनका. It involves dividing up objects into classes so that each assigned to one of the number of mutually exhaustive classes. Essentially, it means it is dividing your objects so that each assigned to one of the number of mutually exhaustive and exclusive categories known as class. बोलना क्लास में बेसिकली क्या कर रहा है ना, ऑब्जेक्ट्स को डिवाइड कर रहा है एंड वी आर असाइनिंग इट टू वन क्लास and exclusively and exhaustively to only one class. ठीक है, the term mutually exhaustive and exclusive simply means that each object must be assigned to precisely one class. वही तो बोला मैं, तो बोलना अच्छे से. PPT. That is never to देख वापस. That is never to more than one and never to no class at all. That is never more than one and never no class at all. Two as unnecessary English फाड़ते ये लोग. Man, that is never more than one or never no class at all. Classification techniques. Classification consists of assigning a class label to a set of unclassified cases. Classification consists of assigning a class label to a set of unclassified cases. We know that objects are unclassified in a data set. Classification क्या करता है? It assigns a label. Like तू dog है, तू cat है, तू tiger है. So it classifies them. ठीक है, सुपरवाइज क्लासिफिकेशन एंड अनसुपरवाइज क्लासिफिकेशन, दैट इज सुपरवाइज लर्निंग एंड अनसुपरवाइज लर्निंग। द सेट ऑफ पॉसिबल क्लासेस इज नोन इन एडवांस। मतलब तूने डेटा दिया और तूने बोल दिया कि ये डेटा में ये सारे कैट्स हैं, ये सारे डॉग्स हैं। यू जस्ट figure ki how, if I tell you something new, will you be able to tell me that this is a cat and this is a dog? Unsupervised classification. Set of possible classes is not known. After classification, we try to assign a name to that class. तूने cats और dogs के mixed images दे दिए मॉडल को, algorithm को. Now algorithm model uses the algorithm to differentiate between the images. We do not even specify कितने classes हैं. If the model is weird, it could even create three types of classes. It could figure out that there's a new type of cat dog mixture that it sees, but as we humans we know that it's a cat or it's a dog. ठीक है, तो once that the data is classified now, we can then label it कि ये सारा data was cats and this all data is dogs. Unsupervised classification is called clustering. Supervised classification. Supervised class we have named. See, सबको नाम दे दिया. This is good friend, this is slow one, this is pimp, good little church girl, drama queen, the tower. Either everything is labeled. So anything similar to this shows up to the model, it can know कि कौन सा क्या है. ठीक है. Now unsupervised classification. 5,000 इमेज डाल दिए कैट्स के, and then your model figures out कि all of these, it figures out all the faces and it will give you, and then you can specify कि ये सारे faces cats थे. ठीक है, इस पर dogs भी होने चाहिए, तो that would have been better to explain, but why would they just give a set of cats? What is the use? It is already there. Supervised classification technique. Oh, there are models that can detect only a single object. इसमें it can help, right? Supervised classification technique. Given a collection of records, training set, each record contains set of attributes. One of the attributes is class. ठीक है, ट्रेनिंग सेट दिया, each has attributes, उसमें से एक class होगा. Find a model for class attribute as a function of values of other attributes. ठीक है, goal. Previously unseen records should be assigned a class as accurately as possible. Satisfy the property of mutually exclusive and exhaustive. ठीक है. Illustrating classification techniques. अभी अपना ट्रेनिंग सेट है. Attribute 1, yes, 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 no, yes, no, yes, no. Attribute 2, large, medium, small, large, medium, small. Attribute 3 is the price. Class, yes, no, yes, no. लर्निंग एल्गोरिथम है, इंडक्ट किया अपन ने लर्निंग मॉडल में, मॉडल ट्रेन हुआ, अप्लाई किया मॉडल पे, डिड्यूस हुआ ट्रेन टेस्ट सेट पे. नाउ टेस्ट सेट कैन, अब टेस्ट सेट पे द मॉडल कैन बेसिकली रीड द थ्री एट्रीब्यूट्स एंड डिड्यूस द आउटपुट, दैट इज द क्लास. यस नो जो भी है. Classification problem. More precisely, a classification problem can be stated as below. Definition 1. Classification problems. Given a database D, T1, T2 to Tn of tuples, and a set of classes C, C1, C2 to Ck, the classification problem is to define a mapping function D to C. ठीक है, basically you have to map a database में से to the class. Each object of the database needs to be matched to a object of each class, where each tg ti is assigned to one class. तो ऐसा कंपलसरी नहीं है t1 c1 से असाइंड होगा. t1 can be assigned to t2, t2 may be assigned to t7. Now that tuple ti to td is defined by a set of attributes a1 a2 an. Bro, why did अरे कंप्लीट तो करो. Classification technique. A number of classification techniques are known, which can be broadly classified into following categories: statistical based methods, regression, Bayesian classifier, distance based classification, k nearest neighbors, decision tree based classification, ID3, C4.5, CART, classification using machine learning, SVM, classification using neural network, ANN. A number of classification techniques are known which can be broadly classified into following categories: statistical based methods, regression, Bayesian learning. ठीक है, तो इसमें क्या डिस्कस करें अपन, क्लासिफिकेशन टेक्निक्स होता है. They can be broadly divided into statistical based methods, distance based methods, decision tree classification, classification using machine learning, classification using neural network. Statistical to we know, regression or Bayesian classifier. Distance also we know, k nearest neighbors. Decision tree based अपन को पता है, but we did not know example. So we have ID3, CART, C4.5. Machine learning तो we know, SVM, support vector machines. And neural networks तो we know artificial neural networks exist. तो पाँच है, सिंपल है, एस डी डी सी सी, एस डी स्क्वायर सी स्क्वायर, एस डी, अरे एस टू डी, एस डी टू सी टू, हो एस डी टू सी टू. Now, what is a Bayesian classifier? Bayesian classifier falls on the statistical based method. ठीक है, that is numbers would be involved. Okay. Principle: if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it is probably a duck. Yes, that is how the training model works. You just write this in a book, okay, bro. Training records, test records. See, this is the we know. It is a air tube. It's a floaty ring, but it quacks because it has that noise thing, and it walks. I don't not know it walks or not. It floats, but even ducks float. So yeah, if it floats like a duck and walks like quacks like a duck, it is probably a duck, and then the model fails. Bayesian classifier. A statistical classifier performs a probabilistic prediction, predicts class membership probabilities. Foundation based on Bayes theorem. Assumptions. These classes are mutually exclusive and exhaustive. बोला ना भाई कितनी बार? The attributes are independent given the class. Class naive classifier, because of these assumptions, empirically proven to be useful, scales very well. Naive base. Statistical classifier performs probabilistic predictions. Example: Bayesian classifier. Example 8.2 air traffic data. Let us consider a set of observations recorded in a database regarding the arrival of airplanes in the routes from any airport to New Delhi under certain conditions. I thought the map was gonna help, but never mind. Air traffic data. Days दिया, weekday holiday Saturday, weekday holiday Saturday Sunday, weekday. तो Saturday Sunday को weekend लिख देते, but never mind. Dumb people. Season: spring, winter, summer, autumn, summer, winter, summer. Season दे दिया. Fog: none, high, normal, high, none, high, normal, high. Rain: none, slight, none, slight, none, slight, heavy. Class: on time. This is the target. On time output, on time late on time. So basically what we have to do is, using these four attributes, we have to say कि ये प्लेन टाइम पे आएगा या नहीं आएगा. आएगा तो ऑन टाइम आएगा, लेट आया तो कितना लेट आएगा, जस्ट लेट आया या वेरी लेट आया. और डेटा है ब्रो, insane. Air traffic data. In this database there are four attributes: day, season, fog, rain, with 20 tuples. So ये तो we have seen. Now given this knowledge of data and class, we are to find most likely classification of any other unseen instance. For example, yeah, classification technique eventually is to map tuple in an accurate class. Bayesian classifier. In many applications, the relationship between the attribute set and the class variable is non-deterministic. Many applications, the relationship between attribute set and the class variable is non-deterministic. मतलब इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल, मतलब प्रिडिक्टिव के लिए जो दिए थे ये attributes or the target is non-deterministic. You cannot just look at it and determine कि हाँ तो यही होगा, जैसे 2 + 2 4 होगा, वैसा नहीं है. In other words, a test cannot be classified to a class label with certainty. In such a situation, the classification can be achieved probabilistically. You can tell the probability of something happening. You can't be like, "Venture पक्का यही होगा." मैंने बोला तो यही होगा. Like there is no other way around it. But you can define the probability of something happening. The Bayesian classifier is an approach for modeling probabilistic relations between the attribute sets and the class variables. More precisely, Bayesian classifier uses Bayes theorem of probability for classification. Before going to discuss the Bayesian classifier, we should have a quick look at the theory of probability and the Bayes theorem. Theory of probability. अच्छा पहले बेस थ्योरम पहले लिखते बेस थ्योरम लास्ट में करवाते हो पहले वाह can't just can't deal. Damn, let's go. Bayes theorem of probability. Simple probability. If there are n elementary events associated with a random experiment of m of n, of them are favorable to event A, then the probability of happening or occurrence of A is m upon n. Array, this is probability. Simple probability. This is simple probability. Suppose A and B are two events, P A, P B. Denote the probabilities that the event A and B will occur respectively. Mutually exclusive events. Two events are mutually exclusive. अरे क्या complete तो करो. The fuck? Shit, I should not abuse. This is wrong. Mutually exclusive events. Two events are mutually exclusive if the occurrence of one precludes the occurrence of other. Example: tossing a coin. Two events. Tossing a Ludo cube. That is a dice, man. Dice. Call it a dice. Six events. Can you give an example so that two events are not mutually exclusive? Hint: tossing two identical coins. Oh, weather, sunny, fog, warm. Whoa. Independent events. They were mutually exclusive events. Independent events. Two events are independent if occurrence of one does not alter the occurrence of other. Example: tossing both coins and Ludo cube together. Occurrence of one does not alter the occurrence. That is independent. Can you give an example where an event is dependent on one or more other events? Receive a message through communication channel or computer. Rain and dating. Rain and dating. Bro, what Bollywood is this? What Bollywood is this? Mutually exclusive events. What does precludes mean? Okay. Joint probability. If PA and PB are the probability of two events, then P A union B equals P A plus B minus P A intersection B. If A and B are mutually exclusive, then A intersection B equals 0. If A and B mutual F and B independent variables, then probability of A intersection B is probability of A into probability of B. Thus, for mutually exclusive events, probability of A union B equals probability of A plus probability of B. Damn. कंडीशनल प्रोबेबिलिटी सो बहुत टाइप हो गया भाई सिंपल प्रोबेबिलिटी हुआ ठीक है सिंपल में म्यूचुअली एक्सक्लूसिव इवेंट्स हुए इंडिपेंडेंट इवेंट्स हुए जॉइंट हुआ कंडीशनल हुआ अच्छा जॉइंट क्या कंडीशनल करता है if events are dependent then the probability is expressed by conditional probability the rule that A occurs given that B is denoted by PAB. Suppose A and B are two events associated with a random experiment. The probability of A under the condition that B has already occurred and probability of B equals 0 is not equal 0 is given by probability of A upon B favorable to intersection B. हाँ माँ સો મારે નંબર નથી એમનો. હેલો, હેલો, પપ્પાને બોલ યા પ્રાંજલને બોલ. There's more to conditional probability. टोटल प्रोबेबिलिटी. भाई कितने प्रोबेबिलिटीज है? तो कंडीशनल हुआ, जॉइंट हुआ, सिंपल हुआ. सिंपल, जॉइंट, कंडीशनल, टोटल. There is something to total and mutually exclusive exhaustive events or random experimental probability. Total probability example. A bag contains 4 red balls, 4 and 3 black balls. A second bag contains 2 red balls and 4 black balls. One bag is selected at random. From the selected bag, one ball is drawn. What is the probability that the ball drawn is red? Oh भाई दो bags है. Like एक bag वाले sums किए थे अपन ने 10th में, I guess. हाँ किया है. The problem can be answered by using the concept of total probability. E1 equals to selecting bag 1, E2 equals selecting bag 2. A equals to drawing the red ball. Thus, PA equals to probability of selecting bag 1 dot into probability of selecting a red ball from bag 1 plus probability of selecting bag 2 into probability of बराबर है सही है where probability of drawing a red ball from bag 1 equals to first choosing बराबर. Let's go. There's reverse probability. Simple, joint, conditional, total, reverse. Simple, joint, conditional, total, reverse. Sounds like a sentence only at this point. A bag 1 contains 4 red balls and 3 black balls. A second bag 2 contains 2 red balls and 4 black balls. You have chosen one ball at random. If it is a red ball, it is found to be a red ball. Red ball looks like a red ball right now. What is that probability that the ball is chosen from bag 1? E1 equals selecting bag 1, E2 equals selecting drawing the red ball. We have to determine P E1A such a problem can be solved using Bayesian theorem of probability. Bayes theorem. Bayesian Bayes something theorem. Bayes theorem says that E1, E2 to En be n mutually exclusive and exhaustive events associated with the random experiment. If A is any event which occurs within E or E2 or E to the power E to n, then probability of EI upon A equals probability of EI into probability of A happening in EI, summation of probability of event EI into probability of A occurring in EI. Bayes theorem. Bayes theorem provides Bayes theorem अपन ऑलरेडी कर लिया है भाई TM में, तो I do not understand why are we ऐसा doing so much खेचल here. Bayes theorem provides a way of calculating posterior probability C upon x from P probability of C, probability x and probability x. Also look at the equation below. Likelihood cluster prior probability where pure posterior probability class can predictor prior and posterior probabilities. Probability A and probability B are called prior probabilities. Probability A, B, B, A are called posterior probabilities. Prior versus posterior probabilities. The table shows that the event Y has two outcomes, namely A and B, which is dependent on another event X, with various outcomes like x1, x2, x3. Case 1, suppose we don't have any information of the event A. Then from the given sample space, we can calculate Py equals to 5 upon 10. टू अपॉन फाइव हुआ x2 के लिए बराबर navigation classifier. Suppose y is a class to posterior is hmm, prior probability is for the whole data set, posterior is for certain condition. ठीक है. Navigation classifier. Suppose y is a class variable. भाई कितना how much are they one excellence अभी 137 तेरा 50. Navigation classifier. Suppose y is a class variable x equals x1 x2 xn. It's a set of attributes with instance of y. ठीक है the can be accessed as a class container. Navigation classifier. Navigation also calculate the posterior probability using base theorem versions follow. It's called the evidence also must be navigation class. Suppose for given instance there are any two classes condition FP and we can say that y is more stronger than other. There's a stronger classification. Example. With reference to air traffic data as mentioned earlier, let us tabulate all the posterior and prior probabilities as shown below. Attribute, on time, late, very late. Did they replace it with oh, they replaced it with probabilities. Okay, of the 14 entries, weekday is 9, Saturday is 2, Sunday is 1, holiday is 2. Okay. Late is this, very late is this, cancelled is this. Spring, summer, winter, this is like the different data set. No, I'm not the same. Okay. Navigation classifier. Class on time, class late, class very late, class cancelled. Cases and cases and correct classification is very late. Navigation classifier. In a set of k mutually exclusive and exhaustive classes C, which have prior probabilities. Pros and cons. Naive based approach is a very popular one which often works well. However, it has a number of potential problems. It relies on all attributes being categorical. See, now we are talking theory questions. Pros and cons of naive Bayesian classifier. Advantages and disadvantages. It relies on all attributes to be categorical. It's a con. If the data is less, then it estimates poorly. Less data, poor estimation. Relies on all attributes being categorical. Pros to दो भाई. Approach to overcome the limitation of naive bias Bayesian classification. Estimating the posterior probabilities for continuous attributes. In real life situation, all attributes are not necessarily in real life situation, all attributes are not necessarily be categorical. In fact, there is a mix of both categorical and continuous attributes. In the following, we discuss the schemes to deal with continuous attributes in a Bayesian classifier. We can discretize each continuous attribute and then replace the continuous values with its corresponding discrete intervals. We can assume a certain form of probability distribution for the continuous variable and estimation of parameters. कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है मतलब अप्रोच टू ओवरकम लाइक प्रॉपर अप्रोच we can ठीक है इधर है proper. We can discretize each continuous attribute and then replace the continuous value with the corresponding discrete intervals. याद है जैसे continuous उसमें था salaries were given or dates were given, so we broke them into parts, we broke them into discrete intervals. Okay, so we can break them down into intervals. Okay, so how to overcome the limitation? One is this, breaking into parts or intervals. We can assume a certain form of probability distribution for the continuous variable and estimate of parameters of distribution using the training data. A Gaussian distribution is usually chosen to represent the posterior probabilities for the continuous attributes. A general form of Gaussian distribution will look like something like this, but we don't know. We just divide it into three parts, where mu and theta square denote mean and variance. Mu is mean, theta is variance, respectively. Variety of mean variance, something root 2 pi. Why is pi getting involved here? Expansion. Nash Bayesian classifier. For each class Ci, the posterior probabilities for attributes Ha, it is a numeric attribute, can be calculated following Gaussian normal distribution as follows. Here, the parameter Uij can be calculated based on sample mean of attribute value of Aj for the training records that belong to Ci. Similarly, Ij square can be estimated from the calculation of variance of such training records. Nash Bayesian classifier. M estimate of conditional probability. The M estimation is to deal with the potential problem of Nash Bayesian classifier. When training data size is too poor, if the posterior probability for one of the attribute is 0, then the overall class conditional probability for class vanishes. In other words, if training data do not cover many of the attribute values, then we may not be able to classify some of the test records. This problem can be addressed by using M estimate approach. बोलना क्या चाहते हैं ये लोग, बहुत ज़्यादा बोल दिए. M estimate of conditional probability. The M estimation is to deal with the potential problem of knife Bayesian classification or knife Bayesian classifier when training data size is too poor. The size इतना बोरा है, इतना छोटा है कि मज़ा ही नहीं आ रहा. ठीक है. If the posterior probability for one of the attribute is 0, then the overall class conditional probability for class vanishes. The posterior probability of one attribute is 0, then the overall class conditional probability of class vanishes. In other words, if training data do not cover many of the attribute values, then we may not be able to classify some of the test records. This problem can be addressed by using M estimate approach. M estimate approach can be stated as follows. मतलब बेसिकली अगर कौन इस डेटा कम है तो क्या यूज़ करोगे उसको ओवरकम करने के लिए एम एस्टिमेट अप्रोच ऑफ कंडीशनल प्रोबेबिलिटी. M estimate approach can be stated as follows. Paj equals to AjCi equals to NCi MP and n plus n, where n equals to total number of instances from class Ci. NCi equals to number of training examples from class Ci that take the value Aj equals Aj. M is a parameter known as equivalent sample size and P is a user specified parameter. Note if n equals to 0, that is if there are no training set available, then PAICI equals to P, so that different something is happening. Example, class 1 bias computer class 2, this is something was given. This to we know. So this is the solving. That is done, bro. That is insane. This to we know, bro. There's already a video on the same YouTube channel. Like, just check it out. We should once like overview कर लेते हैं तो we'll remember what we did. ठीक है. Introduction to classification किया. ठीक है. एग्जाम्पल्स किया है. लाइफ साइंस में होता है, सिक्योरिटी में होता है, प्रोडिक्शन में होता है, एंटरटेनमेंट में होता है, सोशल मीडिया में होता है, सिक्योरिटी क्रेडिट कार्ड फ्रॉड. लाइफ साइंस में तो सेल ट्यूमर, सेल स्मॉल और बिग. Entertainment to classify news categories. Social media to predict the current trend and future growth. Classification का definition. Classification to form a data analysis to extract models describing important data classes. ठीक है. Essentially, it is dividing objects so that each is assigned to one of the number of mutually exhaustive and exclusive categories known as classes. The term mutually exhaustive and exclusive simply means that each object must be assigned to precisely one class. Classification techniques. Classification consists of assigning a class label to a set of unclassified cases. Supervised classification. The set of possible cases known in advance. नहीं पता है तो ठीक है. ये सब ठीक है. Supervised classes ये सब भी ठीक है. Classification problems ये important है ना. How the a number of state question can be state the classification techniques. SD2C2 था अपना statistical distance decision tree classification from machine learning, classification from artificial neural networks. ठीक है. रिग्रेशन Bayesian classifier, डिस्टेंस में सपोर्ट वेक्टर, अरे डिस्टेंस में तो ये होगा के नियरेस्ट नेबर्स, डिसीजन ट्री में id समथिंग id3 cart c 4.5, classification using svm, classification artificial neural networks. Now that is done. Now we have types of Bayesian classifier or scales very well. ये सब ठीक है. Now we had types of probabilities. सिंपल है, जॉइंट है, कंडीशनल है, टोटल है. सिंपल, जॉइंट, टोटल, कंडीशनल, रिवर्स. Prior and posterior probabilities. Navigation classifier, this is just the solving. M estimate is used when the data is too large. Discrete values को करने के लिए intervals में break कर सकते हैं. Practice example, and that is done. We are done with navigation classifier. Stop.